Hello, my name is Ed Jones. I'm the founder of Beyond the Field Player Development, and today we are answering the 10 essential questions you must answer before you get into player development. The reason we're tackling these 10 questions is because over the past 3 years, wow, it's been 3 years of building Beyond the Field Player Development, where we help impactful people like you create player development plans. The biggest question I've gotten, maybe about 70 to 80%, the two biggest questions are, what is player development and how do I get into player development? And so I've heard a lot of things. I've heard people say, I want to get into player development. I say, why? They say, because I saw what you do. I say, what did I do? Well, you did this with the players. And what you see online is probably 10% of the role. But I want to help you because there are a lot of people out there who can impact players or athletes and want to make an impact, and who truly can and understand what player development is. But I want you to answer these questions, because what I don't want you to do is I don't want you to see this position as something that it is not. Excuse me. We're going to dive into these questions. Question number one, why are you interested in player development? Deep down inside, truly think about why you are interested in player development. You who are watching this, or you all who are watching this, either you're in the role, you want to be in the role, or you're thinking about the role, you want to know more. But for those who want to get into it, who want to know more, even some of you all that may be in the role, because my story was I started off as a coach, wanting to coach, and then player development just took over. It took over. It was an alumni event that changed my mind. I hung up my proverbial whistle, and I've been in player development impacting athletes since 2016. But anyway, as for you, why are you interested? Is it because you see the community engagement videos or photos online? Is it because you see the career tours? Is it because you see the pictures with the staff members, with players, the smiles, or maybe you see someone's story? So you may follow people that work in player development and you see all these great things and you're like, I want a piece of that. Is that why you're interested? Do you really truly care about the player or athletes in general? Does it matter which level you get on? Or do you want to just get in the NFL level? Or are you like, hey, I'm just interested in player development and I want to make an impact where I am in my city right now? Shout out to Faith Gurdon. Faith Gurdon is doing this. She was part of my cohort, which I'll talk about later, and she is developing middle schoolers and high schoolers. But the number one thing she did was she answered this question, why she was interested in player development. I want you to take time and think about that, truly think about it. Because if you're interested in the gear, the experiences, the platform, things like that, being around athletes, go do something else, because player development is not that. That isn't probably 10%, and it may be less than 10% of what you truly do. But for you all who are truly interested in diving into an athlete's life and helping, this is for you. But I want you to answer that. Why are you interested in player development? Question number two, you've answered why you want to get into player development. So the second question is, what are the goals that you would have for yourself as a player development professional? This is important. What are the goals? You're interested, I want to impact athletes, but what are your goals? I am learning through reading and helping people create player development plans, the importance of goals. I heard it my entire life, from my parents to my coaches, to my teachers, to my coaches, to my teachers, to professors, to employers, to supervisors. But goals are important. You need to identify what your goals are in player development. For me, it was creating a generational impact. And generational impact is close to my heart because my story is my grandfather, when he was a teenager, his dad had left him and his mom suddenly passed away while breastfeeding his sister. And he had a choice. He had a choice to do what he saw in his life. He had a choice to do what he saw in his life and leave. But he stayed. He made sure that all his sisters and brothers got educated. He made sure of that. And he sacrificed his own education because of that. My grandfather couldn't read or write. We had to read his birthday cards to him. But because he made that choice to stand in the gap and be there for his family, he had professors at colleges related to him. I was a teacher, I was a coach. My sister taught, coach. My dad was able to go to college because of that. All of his kids had some form of college education. All of his kids graduated. I have cousins that went to college. We have a lineage of educators because one person said, I'm going to stand in the gap and I'm going to make the choice to go in this direction. And so generational impact means a lot to me. So my goals were always getting our players to make one decision, just one decision, to impact their lives and the lives of so many others. And that could have been through personal wellness, community impact, and career development. That was my goal. My goal was we are going to give them the opportunity to make a generational, impactful decision in their lives. What are your goals? What would your goals be in the player development position or role? You need to know that. Question number 3. What would you want your athletes to say about your player development program? What would they say? I am fortunate. I was in the role for a little over half a decade at 3 universities for 5 head coaches. And as I've been outside the role helping others, a lot of players have come back to me. And the greatest compliment I have ever gotten is there are about 10 to 15 of my players that I served who want to do what I did for them. They want to get in player development. They're coming back and saying, Coach, I realize the impact that you made. I want to do that. I want to do that for someone. You impacted my life. I have players that have went on and they're doing things in the corporate world that have gotten raises and promotions, and they go back and say, thank you for taking the time. Thank you for giving us this tool. Thank you for sitting us down. Thank you for creating that program. Thank you for bringing in that speaker. Thank you for that trip to that career place. This has helped me so much. I've had players who have looked at my life, how I live, and have said, thank you for being an example. And it's a lot for me. And I promise everybody's been telling me, Jones, you got to get these players on the podcast. And I will. It's tough for me. I really want to be humble, but one of my mentors always said humility is not thinking less of yourself, it's thinking of yourself less. And so in my humility act, I am going to give them that opportunity to talk about it because they've been impacted and I don't want to hold them back from you. But I have been blessed to hear my players talk about what was done. And even some of them didn't even realize what I was doing in their lives. But they now realize, Coach, I see why you did this resume training. Coach, I see why you had us engage with alumni. Coach, I see why you had us on campus. I see why you took us here. Thank you for taking us to Black Student Athlete Summit. I had one player, he thanked me. I was going to NACTA to the N4A convention. Shout out to N4A. And he thanked me for going to N4A to become a better professional to help them. What do you want your players to say about your program? I could talk about what my players have said. One of the coolest experiences I had in the role was at the University of Houston. A young lady who was on the track team, who I did not serve, came to me and said, I wish we had a you. I wish we had a you in our program. And I asked her, I said, why? I said, I know you. I've seen you around. You don't know me. She says, you think I don't know you, but I know the impact you're making on these guys. These guys talk about you. You help them. You've made this experience greater for them. You've helped them see that they're greater than just an athlete. You've helped them see the opportunities. And we want that. I wish we had a you. I was blown away. And so what do you want your athletes to say about you? Write it down. Pause this video. This is not a 1.5 speed, and I listen to everything at 1.5 speed, so I ain't mad at you. But pause. Think about that. What do you want them to say about you? This podcast is brought to you by the Player Development Plan Cohort. These are 3 different cohorts that will walk you through a player development plan creation system so that you can create the impact you want to see in athletes. The beginners cohort is a 4-week cohort that talks about the 6 main areas of player development creation. The advanced cohort is 8 weeks and it goes over 15 areas to help you in your player development planning. And the ultimate cohort is a 12 weeks with 25 main areas you need to create the impactful player development plan you want to see. If you're interested in those cohorts, click the link in the show notes that says, I want to be a part of a cohort, and you'll get more information. Now back to the show. Question number 4, what leadership skills will help you in the player development role and space? Yes, you need leadership skills, and you need to identify which ones will help you in that space. Now, identifying, you can do the disc, you could do this, you can do that. I know on the disc, I'm a high I, high relational, high communicative, excuse me if that's a word, communicator, all right, whatever, I'm a high I, but you need to know your leadership style, because that's going to help you. And it's also going to help you if you can hire staff or get an intern, because you need to balance that. But you need to know the leadership style, because you will lead. One thing I loved about the role, when I was at Kansas, I was given a lot of responsibility. And I remember one day I sat there and I was thinking to myself, man, I'm like the head coach of the team off the field. And then we had a hawk talk where they wanted me to come, and you know what? I'm gonna find that. I'm gonna find that hawk talk, and I have it somewhere. I'm gonna load it up so y'all can see it. But at the hawk talk, my head coach, Coach Les Miles, shout out to Coach Miles for giving me a chance. He said this is what he said. He said, after me, he's like, Ed Jones coming up after me. He said, Ed Jones is the head coach of our program. He was like, Ed Jones knows more about this program and these players than I do. And I thought that was pretty cool. But the only way you can get there is through leadership skills. I was put in a place where I was doing some high level athletic director type work, or assistant athletic director, type work, or associate. It was a lot of work I was doing. Athletic director type work. And they were able to trust me because of my leadership skills. The players were able to trust me because of my leadership skills. So you need to see which skills you need to bring into this, because it's not going to be Bluebell ice cream and s'mores every day. Shout out to Texas, Bluebell, let's go. There are going to be some days it's going to be tough, and you're going to have tough conversations with players, coaches, staff, parents, people in the community. So you need leadership skills. And the fourth question is, what leadership skills will you bring into the role? Question number 5, we talked about leadership skills. Some of you all already know where I'm going with this. What soft skills are you bringing into the player development role? Yes, you have to bring some soft skills into the role. Here are a few of the soft skills that I had to bring in the role when I was there. Public speaking. You might not like it. You're going to have to do it. Negotiation. You're going to have to negotiate for time on that calendar. The calendar in college football, which is where I worked, is the most coveted thing in the entire organization. Conflict resolution. You're going to have to learn how to resolve conflict, and you're going to have to do it very, very quickly. And creativity. You're going to have to learn how to get creative. So those are some of the soft skills I brought in. You could look on Google, find a whole bunch of soft skills, but there are a lot of soft skills that you will need in this role. So you need to identify the ones that you will bring into the role. What operational skills will help you in player development? Yes. What operational skills will help you in a player development role? I don't have a lot of strong administrative skills in my bones, but I had to learn very quickly that there are some operational skills that I need to learn to get done what I need to get done. And you will have to as well. So you need to identify what operational skills will help you in the role. Now you have a director of operations. So what you can do is you're going to work with them very closely, and you can see what they do well, and you can pick some stuff. One thing I did not personally like in the role, but it actually helped me as a professional, it helped me immensely. I was given tasks by a lot of directors of operations I work with, and I was like, I do not like this stuff. I do not want to do this stuff. It helped me greatly. Do not be afraid of those tasks. I know you probably don't like them if you're like me, but they will help you. All right, so we went through 6 questions so far, and you're like, man, you're really, really diving into like areas I haven't thought of. I want to tell you that I have a workshop coming up, a free workshop, free. One day I'll do graphics, but just imagine free going there. Anyway, I have a free workshop coming up where we will dive deeper into these questions, and we will dive into the first steps of creating a player development plan. So if you're interested in that workshop, and I want to see you there, it's a free workshop. Click the link in the show notes for player development workshop, and I'll see you there. You will get more information. I can't wait. I'll have a recorded one for you all who like recordings, and I will have a live one, which you need to be X. We'll have giveaways there at the live one. But click it in the show notes. I can't wait to see you at the workshop. Question number 7 is one I really, really like because we're talking about enhancement. I define player development as the enhancement of the athlete experience through holistic and intentional programming and initiatives. So question number 7 says, how can a player development program enhance the team that you work for or the team you will work for? How? How will it enhance it? You will have to answer that question. So if you're in a role, I talk to a lot of people who want to transition from maybe academics to player development, maybe another role, into player development. Maybe they work in athletics. There's a lot of people that are saying, hey, I want to transfer this, or I want to create a player development role where I'm at, maybe at my high school, in my school district. The biggest question is, how will it enhance? Well, how will your program enhance? The coach is going to ask you that. So you need to have that answer. How will you enhance the experience, the overall experience of the athlete, right? How will a program that is created by you enhance it? Once again, I can help you create a player development plan that I know will enhance it in the show notes. But how? How do you see it happening? How do you see the enhancement happening? How will you answer this? If you sit there and you talk to a coach that you know or someone that you know, athletic director, you got the connection you needed to make this request, and then they asked you, okay, awesome, thank you so much. You've shown me that there's a need, but how does it enhance what we're already doing? Jiminy bet not be cricketing at that point, okay? So you need to answer that question. Number 8, what relationships do you need to build in the player development space? This is bigger than most people think it is. I have seen people in the role who do not build relationships that will help them in this space. You will need to build relationships to help you in that space. So you need to identify who those people are. Who do you need to build relationships with? You know, when I had my cohort, shout out to my 2 cohorts, the Elite 8, the Terrific 3, and the Lone Star who did it by themselves. But when I talked to them or they were in that cohort, I gave a list. Here are the 43 people that you need to know in this role. I actually have a podcast that you can see here. It talks about the top 10 and you can get to the 43, all that. But here are the top 10 people you need to know in the role. Because relationships in the role will help you. With the question we just asked, enhance. It will help you enhance. It will help your players remember you. You need other people. You cannot do it alone. There are a lot of people that want to help you, and there are a lot of people that you can, how do I say this? Demonstrate their importance in how they can help you. Maybe they're not willing, right? There's willing and able. There are some that are able, some that are not willing. There are some that are willing and some that are not able. You need to figure out the ones that are able and willing, or you need to figure out which duty you need in between those two. But you have to build these relationships. You have to. Relationship building is huge, not only with the players. And I tell this to people who have been through my coaching program. I work one-on-one. If you want to work one-on-one, let me know. You need to build relationships. It cannot just be the athletes. You have to help create an ecosystem that will impact them. I had 43 other people, and there's probably even more, 43 people on each campus that were my eyes that I can go to and talk about this. Hey, how did they look when they were at the lift? Hey, what do they look like in the training room? On campus, what are they doing? Hey, on the weekends, can you look out? You know, different things. You need relationships. So you need to identify the relationships that you need to build to help you find success in the role. Like I said earlier, that podcast can be found in a card or I'll put it in the show notes. But you need to know the people that will help you in the role. Number 9, what does player development mean to you? What does it mean to you? Not why you want to get into it, not all this other stuff, but what does it mean to you? What does player development mean to you? What does that mean? When you sit there and think about it, what does it mean? What does this all mean to me? Just general, description, general notes. What does player development mean to you? Because if you can identify what it means to you, it will help your plan. It will help align you when you are interviewing with people who may have another aspect of what player development looks like. Something that I regretted in my career. Went to one university. I did not at that point have a definition of what player development meant to me. I know what it should look like. And I got into a role, which I would do it all over again, but I got into a role where I did not, what player development meant or looked like between me and my two supervisors. Us three could never get aligned. We could not find any alignment. So of course, you know how that ended, right? So you need to know what player development means, because you want to align yourself with people who agree. And it doesn't have to be identically like you, but it needs to be in the ballpark. My situation wasn't even in the same ballpark. I was playing in, bases were loaded for me. They thought bases were empty, right? Using a baseball analogy, because ballpark, whatever. But you need to be in the same ballpark. Like if I see a bases loaded, somebody has to see that there's people on base. Okay, sweet. I see bases loaded. You see two people on base, whatever, but you see people on base. And so you need to understand what player development means to you. And then the last question, what areas will you focus on? This is important. There are so many areas to focus on. Most of your player development programs are gonna have some type of personal development, community development, career development, leadership development, relational development, and skills development. But what areas will you focus on? What areas will you land on and say, hey, this is what I will focus on? Because you need to pick. And I'm a big believer in threes. There's a study. I'm going to find it. I'm going to bring it to you all in the podcast. But if you think about threes, NBA, NFL, NHL, MLB, just do it. I'm loving it. There's a study on threes, right? So for me, it was 3, but you need to figure out, and I'm going to tell you, you need to figure out the top 3 areas you will focus on. And that could be anything. Some people may say, hey, I want to do financial development. Perfect. What will you focus on? You need to know what you will focus on. The Bible says without a plan, the people perish. So you need to find what you're going to focus on. You're going to be excited. You're going to be excited to get the role if you get the role. Maybe you're new in the role. Maybe you're in the role. You're going to get excited. Yeah, I get to do this. Yeah, I'm going to do this. But you have to have a plan, because once again, those days will not look like what you would think they look like. Another question I get all the time is, what does a day look like? I do not know. I wish I could tell you what a day looks like in player development. So you need to know what you will focus on, and you need to be able to communicate what you will focus on. So those are the 10 essential questions you must answer if you're interested in player development, or if you're in the role, or you got stuck in the role, whatever it may be, you're thinking about it. You're a coach who wants to create the role. You're an athletic director that wants to create the role. Wherever you are on that player development spectrum, those 10 questions must be answered. Now, after you answer those 10 questions, then you can start creating your player development plan. That step can happen. Once again, come to the workshop. You'll get more information on that. Click the link in the show notes. And I can't wait to see you there in the live one. And for you all that like it recorded, we got love for y'all too. Now, I want you to take time with this podcast episode. Go back and play it. Take 10 days to answer those 10 questions. Please, if you're interested, because I want you to start with a leg up, and I need you to sign up for that workshop so we can dive deeper. As I always say, go out and create generational impact. Don't wait, create that generational impact today. And check out this video that I talked about earlier about the 10 people you need to know in a role. And here's another video that will help you just plan and get done and get started in player development. Have a great day. Go out and impact lives. Let's go.